Oh my goodness, it's Frank, it's Mysterious Jojo, it's Dolly Dolly Don Don, it's Mystery Homo. It's a special time of year, once again, where I count down every single game I played for the first time last year. Not every single game that came out last year, because I only played like 4 games that came out last year, so you're not going to be seeing much of it. It's every game that I played for the first time last year, so expect a lot of older titles. Don't expect any Elden Ring or Ragnarok. This is my list, this is my show, this is how I do it, so don't be complaining about it. And we're jumping right in at number 14 with an absolutely perfect example of this, Surgeon Simulator A&E. You guys know what Surgeon Simulator is, right? I shouldn't have to explain it to anyone. You do know what Surgeon Simulator is, right? Oh my god, it's 10 years old this year? Oh no. Please tell me you're all old enough to know what this game is. Oh god, no. Anyway, yeah, Surgeon Simulator. It's certainly funnier when you're not playing it. I can tell you that for free. I mean, it's alright. This is the first year I'm doing this where the bottommost game isn't total garbage. So that's fun. I will say, it's definitely funnier when you're watching someone else play it. Have any of you watched Burger Pal? Oh, I feel ancient. There's a Dan Bulls song in this. Oh god. Are those my bones? Okay, number 13 is technically half cheating because I actually played the first game in this collection when it originally came out on the 3DS, but I haven't played the sequel and it's been a while and this is technically a separate release, so I'm counting it anyway. It's the GameranxHD collection. If you hadn't heard of this game, I wouldn't be surprised because they're pretty old, but they're basically just little shooty bang bangs. Look, you see that gameplay? That's it. That's pretty much it for the whole game. There's a couple of little bonus segments, you know, riding a panda and doing all that. There's a shmup section, but yeah, no, they're just cute, short little things. You'll beat them both in like an hour. Pretty alright. Number 12. It's another indie game. It's Oxenfree. You're a teenager, and you're on an island, and there's some spooky ghosts going around, and there's time manipulation, and freaky radio stuff, and conversations. Lots of conversations, lots of talking. Build up your relationship values. Influence the plot. Pretty good. Make sure you play it 2 times, because if you do the right thing on the second playthrough, something pretty cool happens. It's Oxenfree. Peter Capaldi! Got one in. Clarissa GF, guys. This is going to be the year. I can feel it. When I first started doing these lists, I put Lego Ninjago Movie Game as my absolute worst game of that year. I had a very bad time with it. At least I got it for free. But I was very worried after playing this about the future of Lego games, especially the one I was most excited for. I'm very worried for Skywalker Saga right now. Let's start off with the positive. Skywalker Saga is massive. Like, seriously huge. Like, almost overwhelmingly huge. Look at these collectibles. Look how many there are. There's so much stuff to get in this game. Every single hub world is giant. Almost every single character is unique and fun to play. There's a lot of incredibly obscure pulls in here. Do you know who this guy is? I don't. I've never even heard of half these people. You could play as Glup Shitto. You could play as Gay Slug Reaction. You can play as Babu Frick. You can play as a droid from a dogshit Chuck Wendig novel that nobody's ever read because it's written by Chuck Wendig. You cannot play as Indiana Jones though. I'm sorry to report he did not survive the transition. You've got all the charm and humour of a Lego game. You've got 9 great movies to play through. 8. 7. 6. You've got 5 great movies to play through, absolutely stuffed with references and humour that are sure to make even the most casual Star Wars fan go, hey, I know what that is.
Another happy landing.
Unfortunately for me, Skywalker Saga was quite a choppy experience. This is a little minor complaint, but I think the levels are a little short at times. Some of these are just like 2 minutes long. Remember the pod race from episode 1, how you were like actually playing through the race and it was fast, exciting. In this it's like 3 minutes and the course is just a loop. There's not really that much going on. I get that they're going for like unique environments and they want each level to feel a little special, but man, some of these are just way too short. But by far the biggest complaint is that for the first month that this game was out, It just straight up did not work half the time. During my story mode playthrough, I was getting soft crashes and hard crashes. It was freezing during the loading screens. It was freezing when it was coming out of the loading screens. And it was lagging. And it was just not a very fun experience. And every time you turn the game back on, every single character is marked as new, and that just pisses the OCD side of my brain off because I know they're not new. And now there's all these new orange dots everywhere, and I have to go and get rid of them all. And ever since the game came out, they haven't added any new DLC levels. It's just been DLC characters, and half of these DLC characters should have been in the game anyway, just because they were in Clone Wars or some other thing. They should have been in it anyway. Why was Ahsoka not in the base game, but Mama the Hutt was? Who the hell even is that? I skipped that episode. And then the bugs got so bad that after I finished my story mode playthrough, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna wait for a massive patch to fix all these. And then like 2 weeks later, they finally dropped that massive patch, and they added in even more content, which just so happened to bring the gold brick counter up to a nice round number, which means they didn't even release the game finished. The game was put out literally unfinished with multiple pieces of content missing. What are they doing? And then to top it all off, to put the big stinky cherry on the big stinky pile of poopy problems, I had to replay Rise of Skywalker. And quite frankly, I would not wish that on even my worst enemy. Now I'm sure if you played this nowadays it would be much better and you would have run into nearly 3/4 of the problems I ran into. But from my experience, at least half of my playtime was choppy and buggy and glitchy, and just every single second I was waiting for shit to crash. Also during this period there was at least one glitch that would just straight up make the game unplayable, and you couldn't progress any further if you triggered it. So yeah, that was not fun to have looming over my shoulder the entire time I was playing it. For many years now, companies have looked at Smash Bros and pointed at it with big open-mouth Wojak expressions and gone, hey, that looks pretty good, let's do that. And for the most part, these have all been bad. Just really, really cheaply made, poorly done. Sometimes they don't even release with voice acting. Sometimes it's just like, why did you even make this? What was the purpose? But finally, this year, Warner Bros. Came out and made their own Super Smash Bros. Crossover fighting game, Multiverses. And it's okay. It's fine. Now, full disclosure, I've been playing Multiverses every day since I started it. It's a really fun fighting game. It's solidly put together. All the characters are fun to play, except for Steven Universe. It's a good time. Just plug it in for an hour, do your weekly challenges, turn it off. But Multiverses does have a fair number of issues that's very hard to ignore. For example, why is the latest Battle Pass incredibly grindy compared to the last one? Why was the Halloween event so grindy? What's going on with the grind, Warner Bros? Some of us have lives. 85% of things in the game cost premium currency, and there's literally no way in-game to earn the premium currency without spending real money. What's up with that, Warner Bros? Do you not want me to get the things that you're selling me? Arcade mode doesn't have any endings at time of recording. It's been a month since the last character at time of recording. There was a solid month where if you picked a certain character, there was a 25% chance that the game would just completely crash and shit the bed, and nobody on the company could figure out why that was happening. As of recording, this exact same thing is happening yet again. Mordecai and Rigby are not yet playable in the game. Steven Universe is currently playable in the game. They doubled the amount of time it would take to get a character to level 15. What's going on, Warner Bros? There sure is a lot of grinding going on with this game. Sometimes when I go into a match I have a good clean fight, and other times when I go into a match I'm assaulted by 2 crackheads who beat our asses so hard the game doesn't even count it as a loss. Sometimes when I go into a match someone is playing on Kentucky internet and it's an absolute glitchy nightmare, and this game's been out for like half a year and it's still happening. Are your servers dying? Are they dying? Do they need water? Do they need biscuits? I cannot stress enough that you can't play as Mordecai and Rigby yet. Why is there toast in the Battle Pass? I don't want toast in the Battle Pass. I'm sitting on over 300 pieces of toast. I barely use toast. Why do I need to get 20 pieces of toast from the Battle Pass? The Battle Pass that I spent real money on, by the way. I don't need toast. I need Mordecai and Rigby. The Doctor isn't owned by Warner Bros, so we can't have Peter Capaldi in the game. The final trophy I need to get the Platinum requires me to play over 500 matches with a party, and sometimes when I finish up a set, the other person doesn't have a party set up, so I can't get them to join, and it's really just a coin toss on whether or not they bother to join with me. So I'm just sitting here with this one trophy left, and it's really pissing me off. But obviously this game's doing something right, because I'm still here, and I'm still playing it, and I'm still earning rewards, and I'm still having fun. So even with that fair number of problems, they're doing something right. There's something about that where it's like, this game has clear, obvious problems, but the parts that I like overpower the parts that I don't like enough that I still really, really enjoyed the game. But to other people, they might have heard all those things I just said and thought to themselves, well, that game sounds kind of bad. I don't want to play it. That's not what I intended. It's just, it does have issues. But the parts that I really, really enjoyed are so good to me that I think they kind of overpower the parts that I didn't. If one aspect of the game is incredibly strong, but another part is incredibly weak, how does that affect the scales? Well, we're about to find out, because at number 9, it's Bayonetta 3. Bayonetta 3's gameplay is absolutely incredible. It's the best in the franchise by a country mile. Okay, you've got 14 main missions, and all of those main missions have dozens of collectibles inside them, and some of those collectibles open up side missions, so you've also got 14 side missions. Then of course there's the 2 prologue levels, and then there's the 4 genre mini-games, so that's 20 main levels overall. And then there's also this little thing, picture book you can unlock, which is a demo for the new games coming out. I'm fine with spoiling that because you've all already seen the trailer for this thing. And then in terms of weapons, you've got like 15 weapons, and all of them have their own skill trees. And then of course you've got an entirely new playable character with her own separate gameplay style, and she has her own skill tree too, and you can freely upgrade these characters whenever you want, and it gets a little overwhelming at times. And then of course you've got all the separate costumes, and you can colour all the separate costumes however you like. And then some of these levels, your first time through, will probably take you like 40 minutes to over an hour to finish them. There's a lot of Bayo here. This is the most Bayo there has ever been in the game. Some people might say there's too much Bayo, but I say I look at all this and I think, man, that's a lot of Bayo, and I love Bayo, and I love playing Bayo, and boy oh boy does playing this Bayo feel pretty good. There's so much weapon variety, so many different things you can do, and of course let's not forget the kaiju summon. You can just summon the demon in and they fight for you and they just punch everything for you, and it's so much fun, man. Just had so much fun playing as Bayo. Unfortunately, there are some times where you're not playing as Bayo. That second playable character I mentioned, her name's Viola, and she's incredibly hit or miss. Sometimes you'll jump into a combat encounter and it'll be like, ooh yeah, get that parry, hell yeah, get him Cheshire, woo, and you'll be having a good time. And sometimes you'll drop into a combat encounter and you'll just be absolutely frothing with rage because they very clearly did not play test the larger enemies against her. Like, Hey guys, so 2 days after I recorded that segment, Platinum put out a patch that apparently fixed Viola quite a lot, and now she's much more fun to play, and they even fixed some of the challenges in the game, including the one that I just showed you 2 seconds ago. They made that easier. Unfortunately, I've already completed the entire game and grabbed all the collectibles and fully upgraded everything. So, I probably won't be going back to the game for a while. So, yeah, this spot in the list still stands. And anyway, it didn't come out last year. That patch came out this year, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. What's even worse is that you only play this character in 3 mainline missions. Now, you can pick her for the side missions if you want to, but 3 missions to learn this character, and she really only gets 1 upgrade through them. Meanwhile, Bayonetta you can play as for the other 80% of the game, and she's just picking up upgrades left and right, new weapons and new abilities, and way too much for at times. Like, Come on, let's give Viola some love here. They're obviously trying to push her. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Let's talk about that story for a second, shall we? Now, most Bayo game stories are not really that complicated, but they're perfectly fine. They're held together by shoestrings and duct tape, and then by the end they just kind of come together and you go, that was a pretty alright narrative. But Bayo 3's narrative is the most important narrative in the world, and it is super important and deadly and destructive, except it isn't so much of this plot. It's just no plot at all. For 80% of the game, you're repeating the exact same beats. You go to another world, and you run through it for 3 levels, and you meet an alternate Bayonetta, and then stuff happens, and then you get some new power-ups, and then you move on to the next. Meanwhile, Jean's sneaking through a base, and all her powers are turned off, so she has to do, like, this little stealth mini-game, and it's kind of weird, because, like, there is another character that exists in Bayonetta that could have done these stealth missions, and let's talk about that character too, by the way. I know you're all dying to hear my thoughts on this part of the story. Luca, by far, exemplifies the biggest problem with Bayonetta 3's story. Luca is a very important character to this game's plot, and yet simultaneously, he's in the game for like 20 minutes. And this game has like 6 hours of cutscenes, and Luca is barely in it. Now look, I like Luca. Apparently a lot of people don't like Luca. This is news to me, but I've always liked Luca, and I've always found him funny and charming. But my god, they really sidelined Luca, and yet simultaneously, they didn't. Like, he has so much to do in this story. You have no idea how hard it is to find clips of Luca in this game, without spoiling, by the way. And that's really the biggest problem with Bayonetta 3. It's constantly hyping itself up as the most dangerous, craziest adventure that Bayonetta's ever been on, with massive consequences, and yet it barely spends time developing and fleshing those consequences out, and instead focuses on showing us the same thing over and over again. I should not have to go through character bios that unlock after I finish the game to understand your main antagonist's plot and what their deal is and what's going on with Luca and all these different weirdo events that are just happening at the screen. That should probably be in the plot. My god, Platinum. You guys really need to hire, like, a single writer. Oh, and by the way, just throwing this out there, I thought the ending was fine. I thought it was, I thought it was okay. I did not think it was franchise destroying. I'm not that much of a doomsayer, you big, massive, wet babies. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum that I just complained about, we have No More Heroes by Suda51. Whereas Bayonetta 3 is severely let down by its story, but carried hard by incredible gameplay, No More Heroes has very mid gameplay, but is carried by some of the absolute best collection of characters I've seen in a long while. No More Heroes has charm and personality oozing out of not only its dick, but also its cock. Your protagonist is just the biggest meathead loser you'll ever meet in the world. He's chasing after a sexy French girl by fighting through a collection of insane, stupid, funny, wacky bosses. And there's also this Irish guy here for some reason. Don't worry, that'll all get explained. Maybe, possibly. The game really couldn't give 2 shits about its plot, or connecting anything together, or even writing a twist in that makes any kind of logical sense. It's just kind of dragging you along for the ride to meet all these stupid, kooky, ridiculous characters. Every single character in this game is unique and fun, from the cowboy with a gun in the middle of a baseball stadium, to the dickhead superhero, to the old lady with a giant laser beam coming out of a shopping trolley, to whatever the hell this guy's got going on. All of their fights are exciting and fun, and really not that challenging. The third boss in the game is by far the hardest, and by the end of the game, I've fallen in love with all these characters, even though the plot surrounding them was just completely off-the-wall bonkers, and basically deliberately fell apart at the end. That just only added to how much I was enjoying the game. Like, the writers just could not give a shit by the time you reach the last hour of this game. Unfortunately, there's the gameplay to deal with. Now, the combat's fine. It's very basic, but it's fun. It's pretty alright. I had an alright time of it, but it's everything outside of the combat that was not that fun. How do you get to the combat segments? Well, you gotta take up jobs. How do you get to the jobs? You gotta get to them through the worst open world I have ever played in a video game, ever. Behold, Santa Destroy, a city made entirely out of the inside of cereal boxes. Gaze upon the ugliest shit you'll ever see in your entire life as you drive around the city with literally nothing to do but go to a menu to activate a minigame. Oh sure, there are collectibles. And then you get all the collectibles, like an hour later, and that's all the collectibles done. Hooray! There's nothing else to do. This should not be an open world. This should be a menu. I should be able to just hit a button and go to the gym and pump up, and then hit another button and go to the job center, and then hit another button and then I'm picking up scorpions. I should not have to drive for 5 minutes at a time around the absolute dingiest, dirtiest shithole since the Batman's Gotham City. Oh, but you can dig up money. Yeah, you can dig up money from the ground. Wow, a whole $1,000 that's really gonna put a dent in the $300,000 I owed so I can fight a fucking wizard. Ah, but Frank, you see, it is supposed to be commentary. It's supposed to be commentary on how most open world games have nothing to do and how they're boring and just made for the sake of being open world. Okay, number one, this game came out way before all of that stuff started being popular, so I guess you could say it was prescient, or maybe it's supposed to be like commentary for the game's ultimate message. But I don't care if it's intentionally bad. It's still bad and I didn't have a fun time doing it. I should not be spending half my game time running around this map trying to scrounge up money so I could go play the actually fun part of the game where I chop a dude's head off and his scream clips my Switch speakers so hard that it blows out my hearing aid. Oh, but the bike, you can zoom around on the bike is a fun time. Yeah, fun time on the bike. Every time I hit something that's even slightly wider than a gnat, I go flying 600 kilometers down the road. It takes me like 7 years to get back up and get back on it. And then sometimes the button doesn't even work, so it takes me like 7.3 days to get back on the bike. Oh, I'm really having fun. I'm really having fun with the social commentary this game's giving to me about the daily grind of life. No More Heroes is ultimately an experience worth going through, but my god, the stuff you have to go through that is just... Should I have put this above Bayonetta 3? I'm feeling conflicted now. Is the story in Bayonetta 3 really bad enough that it goes below this one? I mean, my god. Figure that out for yourself. I'm just moving on. Hey, speaking of hyper-violent games that criticize hyper-violence, check this shit out. It's called Hotline Miami. Have you heard of it? I think it's a pretty obscure indie game. In Hotline Miami, you play as some guy who is being talked to by some people who want him to kill some guys for some reason. There is also some other stuff happening with some other people. Look, the plot doesn't matter. The plot is barely there. You're just here for the arcade-style murder 'em up. Every level in Hotline Miami can be beat in like 2 minutes if you're pretty good at it, but of course you're not going to be pretty good at it the first time you play, so you're going to take 5 steps and get shot, or stabbed, or bitten, or blown up, or something like that. But eventually, you start getting into the groove, and you start formulating a strategy, and throwing pipes at people, and then shooting them, and stabbing them, and oh god, oh, there's a lot of blood in this game. Oh, yes. Eventually, you'll probably start getting into this groove, so you just stroll into level and just be like, boop, bop, bit, bet, boop, ba-boop, and I'm out. See ya. 20 seconds, give me that S-rank, yeah boy. And it's all accompanied by this absolutely bumping soundtrack. You got this one, it's a... Ooh, ah. And you got this one, and it's like... And how could we forget the classic? Sure, the game might be frustrating, but it's just one button, and you restart the segment again, and you know, you might be dying like 700 times, but you're just gonna be like, oh, just one more, bing, bang, boom, just one more, oh, I can just get it this, and then before you know, 2.5 hours have passed, and you're at the credits, and you're like, huh, that was pretty fun. So, yeah, I guess this segment of the review is going to be pretty short too. Hotline Miami. It's pretty good. Go play it. Speaking of arcade-style shooting games, oh man, I'm on a roll today. What's going on? The Call of Juarez franchise, and isn't exactly the most high-profile name. It had like 4 games and then it died out, and at least half of those games were apparently pretty mid. But Call of Juarez Gunslinger, that's pretty good. Gunslinger is just a straight-up, good old-fashioned, first-person, rootin', tootin' shoot-'em-up. You see a man and then you point at their head and then you pull the trigger and points come up and you get more points and you get skill points, and then the skill points let you be able to shoot people better and get more skill points. It just kind of feeds into itself in this nice little loop. But it's not just generic cowboy action, there's a lot of charm in it, especially in the framing device. Basically, you're this old drunk guy who wanders into a bar and is like, hey, I'm the greatest bounty hunter in the world. Listen to all my wonderful stories, and some of them may or may not be bullshit. It allows for a lot of fun stuff, like the part where you go through this entire sequence and then it ends with you dying and the guy's like, wow, it's a good job I didn't do that, so here's what actually happened. Or the part where he gets up to take a piss and you just have to wander through the same part of the level over and over again for a solid minute straight. Or the part where the rights get bought up by some fucking douchebag venture bro and you have to travel down to New Jersey and you have to go to his fucking house and you have to negotiate with him in this lawyer minigame, and it takes like 17 hours. Except it doesn't actually, because I made all that up because this is an old West game and capitalism hadn't been invented yet. But of course a shooting game can't just be carried on charm alone. Borderlands learned that lesson a long time ago. The gameplay is pretty fun too, especially once you start in on the second playthrough, because that's when you'll be able to really start reaching the second tier of your skill trees. And boy oh boy, that's when the game really opens up and you can feel it and you're just staying in slow motion forever and ever, and ooh, that second playthrough's a lot of fun. It really throws open the arcadiness of it all. Suddenly you're staying in a 16-time combo of just bang boom, bang boom pow, getting massive score multipliers, filling up like half the bar in one combat encounter, finding collectibles you missed before and getting even more XP. It's great fun. If I had to criticize this game on one thing, it's that some of these duel minigames can be pretty bullshit. You've got to be really spot on with your timing. But aside from that, Call of Juarez Gunslinger is a lovely little hidden gem. Go get it. Speaking of games that have a silly sense of humour where you're a man with a gun, could be better. We're entering the top 5 of the list. Man, I feel like this year is really just zooming by. Last year, Volition put out their Saints Row reboot, and it sunk hard, like harder than a dead child strapped to a soggy dog. And while millions of people were not playing the Saints Row reboot, I was busy playing Saints Row the Third. If you've somehow never heard of Saints Row before, it's basically, what if Grand Theft Auto, but silly? And you might be thinking to yourself, I don't know about that, Frank. Grand Theft Auto is pretty silly. No. When I say silly, I mean silly. As in, you can take off all your clothes and go streaking in the middle of the street and get money for it. Silly. I mean, you can buy a dildo bat and beat people to death with a dildo. Silly. I'm talking one of the main villains of the game are a bunch of luchadors. Silly. What makes Saints Row work is that at no point does it ever look into the camera and tell you, that's a little bit silly, isn't it? No, everyone just takes this as completely normal. Sometimes characters will be like, huh? But mostly it's just, yeah, no, this is just how life is. One of the most popular game shows on TV is just a murder dome. And everyone's just like, yeah, cool. Alright. When you turn the game on, the very first thing you do is rob a bank and try to airlift the vault out. Then you jump out of a plane. Then you jump through the plane to try and shoot a guy. Then you land in the city and you do some stuff and you go to your garage and you get a giant truck, and the truck has a cat's face on it, and you run over people with the truck and they get sucked into a cannon, and then you can shoot people out of the cannon. And I haven't even really unlocked the open world yet, and I think I've already... Yeah, I know what this series is about. And don't worry, the game gets even stupider than that, and I'm not going to spoil anything for you. But it's not just the silliness that makes Saints Row 3 work. The gameplay is pretty good too. All the mini-games are pretty fun, like the one where you're in a tank and you're just blowing stuff up, or the one where you throw yourself into traffic to see how high you can get your insurance claim. The constant gameplay loop of buying more things to get more money, to buy more things to get more money, to buy more things, means that you'll constantly be upgrading yourself throughout the entire game and unlocking more of the map and just making everything feel a lot better for yourself. Saints Row the Third is a completely mental game, and it knows it, and it loves it, and it's never going to acknowledge it. And, you know, I think that counts for a lot these days. Speaking of boys who want to do crime, god damn, I'm just absolutely killing it today. Have you ever heard of this little game series called Yakuza? To say that I disliked Yakuza 3 would be an understatement. It was my least favourite game of the year, and I even made an hour-long video talking about how much I hated it, which everyone who watched it really liked, and nobody had any problems with the structure at all. Yakuza 3, the plot was just incomprehensible. It was poorly paced and just poorly written all around, barely held together, absolute nightmare, just one of the worst video game stories I've ever played in my life. Luckily, coming in at number 4, and I swear to God, I did not plan for this to be number 4, but that's just kind of how the list turned out, it's Yakuza 4, which is really good in basically almost every department. Just a massive step up from previous. Yakuza 4 takes the potentially controversial step of not having the main character be Kazuma Kiryu. Well, he is kind of the main character, but you don't actually get to play as him until the last quarter of the game. For the first 3 quarters of the game, you'll instead be playing as 3 completely brand new characters, and shockingly, all of them are really good. In Yakuza 4, there's a big conspiracy going down, and these other 3 characters have their own little side stories that all end up connecting into this larger conspiracy by the end of the game. And it's got some really wild plot twists in there. Some of them have become a bit of a meme in the community. If you know, you know. But it's the fun kind of plot twist. It's not the kind of plot twist like Yakuza 3, where you look at it and go, what, that's stupid. That's dumb. That would never happen. That's stupid. It's the kind of plot twist where you're like, that's stupid. I love it. Can I get like 5 more of those, please? Oh, yes. Lovely. Just what I needed. All 3 characters have their own unique playstyle as well, and they have their own skill trees. You've got Akiyama, who's my favourite of the 4, and he's just kick. He's a speedy boy. You've got Tanemura, who is a big policeman, and he's kind of tanky. He arrests people for an instant kill. Then you've got Saejima, who's the big, strong, buff boy, and he just swings his arms around like big gorilla. And then you have Kiryu, who is deliberately overpowered as shit, and he already has the Tiger Drop unlocked at the start of the game, and he's basically deliberately broken to show off just how outclassed these other protagonists are. And how could I forget my classic Kamurocho map? Oh, my beloved, it's still here, and it's still almost exactly the same, with some new stuff in it. That terrible Hostess mini-game from the previous game returns. You can avoid it though. You don't have to do it for any subquests, so that's great. That's fun. I could just completely ignore that. Then you've got Saejima's thing, which is like fighting school, training up your students, making them better, winning the big dojo championship. And then you've got Tanemura and Kiryu side things, which are just, you know, the standard beep beep. Hey, what's going over here? Oh, Tanemura! Oh, there's a guy who's gonna jump off the roof. Oh yeah, I can do with that. I'm gonna jump off the roof. I'm gonna do it. Nope. Whole game is just a massive step up from that last game. I really enjoyed it. I have heard mixed things about this game. Some people hate it, some people love it, but I liked it. I thought those plot twists were stupid, but like I said, they're an enjoyable kind of stupid. But perhaps the most important thing in this game's favour, and really what put it at number 4 to me, is that it's got Machine Gun Kiss, baby! Woo! Hit it! Midnight Shadow, Kirisaku, Akuseru, Kishimu Highway City. 1億2億100億のキスを浴びせてやる baby おじさん What the fuck? Machine gun kiss, they just fall in love! Hey, speaking of games that have a 4 in the title, I swear to God, this is the last one I do. Have you guys ever played Resident Evil 4? Because somehow, despite the fact that it's been released on every single console known to mankind and every single one that hasn't been released to mankind and is getting a remake later this year that will also be ported to every single system known to mankind, I have never played Resident Evil 4 in my life. This game doesn't need an introduction. I don't have to explain to you what Resident Evil 4 is. You are Leon S. Kennedy, the coolest motherfucker in the entire galaxy, and you've got to go to this random Spanish village to save the president's daughter, and you've got to shoot all the peasants in the head because they've been mind-controlled by worms or whatever these things are supposed to be, and there's like an evil cult, and this creepy guy, and there's this big dude, and there's this tiny little dude, and there's this sexy Asian lady, and there's this creepy Spanish guy, and there's Mike, and there's all these great characters, and you just gotta run around and just shoot the zombies and the big hammer dude and whatever the hell this is. What the hell is that? Oh Christ, holy Jesus. I feel like I don't even need to talk about this game all that much. Like, it's Resident Evil 4. It's the one with the merchant. It's the one with the camera and you go bang and you go ah. It's the best game ever made according to quite a number of people. It's at least in the top 10. It's been ported to every single console. Like, you've probably played it. Probably. I mean, I didn't play it before now, but you probably did. There's like a 75% chance you've played this on at least one console, maybe even two. I gotta say, this game feels good to play. A lot of games back in the day, you pick them up nowadays and you're like, oh, this feels a little weird. But this game, yeah, it's got some kind of weird controls, but for some reason they just click after a minute. You just get it, man, you know, and then you just mowing through things. Just grab a submachine gun and blast down 17 zombies. Hey, remember when this game was set in a creepy haunted mansion with limited ammo? Yeah, fuck you. Here's a helicopter turret section.
Just go. Just give us some privacy.
Oh yeah, man, that's so depressing. Hey, check this shit out! Then you got the side content, like Separate Ways, which is its own little mini campaign starring Ada, and you're just running around shooting people, and you're filling in the gaps of what happened in the story. Then keeping with Ada, you've got Assignment Ada, which is just this neat little mini scenario where you're running around collecting vials. And of course, we can't be sleeping on the Mercenaries, wave-based combat, unlocking new characters if you do well enough, nice little mini arenas, the worst enemy in any video game of all time ever, oh god, oh god! And of course, no review of Resident Evil 4 is complete without a 4-hour interlude to talk about the script, which is, wow, there's something about this script that's just really special. Leon, in particular, is exuding enough cheese to kill your lactose-intolerant stepdad 15 times over. This man is completely self-confident in everything he does.
I've sent my right hand to dispose of you.
Your right hand comes off?
I'm really struggling to find things to say here that, like, hundreds of other people haven't said already. Like, what else do you need? Resident Evil 4. It's Resident Evil 4. Like, that's it. Game over. It's a good game. Surely you've played it by now. If you haven't, you definitely should. It's on literally everything. You don't really have an excuse not to get it on something.
I see that the president's equipped his daughter with ballistics, too.
Now, I'm gonna let you guys in on a little bit of a secret, and you can't tell anyone else. But I'm a fan of Kirby. Now, I know what you're thinking. I wouldn't have known. It's so incredibly subtle. You've never once in a video proclaimed your love for the little pink marshmallow man. But it's true. Deep down, I am in fact a Kirby fan. When I finished playing through Kirby Star Allies, I was like, that's a fine Kirby game. Yep. That's a perfectly middle of the road, good Kirby game. Now, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, on the other hand, is like, at long last, Kirby is in 3D. An actual, proper, not 2.5D, full 3D game. And it is quite possibly the best Kirby game ever made. In this world of your Dark Souls and your Elden Rings and your Metro 2033s, oh, don't worry, I'll get to Metro 2033 on next year's list. There's something very calming and gratifying about just being a nice, cute little fella wandering around a simple platformer, sucking enemies up and stabbing them with swords. The first thing you'll notice when you boot Forgotten Land up is that it looks absolutely bloody gorgeous. Look at the environments, man. Look at the fur detail on the monkey. Look at the little friend. The friend has never looked better than he has at this very moment. Gorgeous, stunning, But that's not the only thing that helps Timmy Squatch stand out. There's also the challenge system to collect missing Waddle Dees to repopulate your hub town, Waddle Dee Town. Going into a level and doing a thing and watching the number go up, it's just serotonin, man. It makes me feel like, yay, I'm doing something. Speaking of numbers going up, we gotta talk about the gacha system. With this revolutionary system, friends' gambling addiction can be fully exploited. Stand in front of this machine for 16 hours as you try desperately to get that one last 3D model that you just can't get, dumping mountains of coins, which you will get absolutely showered with, by the way, into this little capsule machine just to get that one last thing, fill out that one last percentage point. And speaking of spending money, upgrading the copy abilities, it's awesome. I hope they bring this back for every single game. Just this real tangible sense of all your abilities getting stronger and stronger. I'm a personal huge fan of the final sword upgrade, which I'm not going to show you because it's a spoiler again, but that one's just incredible. In some Kirby games, I will hit a wall at some point. There will just be some really difficult post-game challenge, and I'll be like, alright, I think I've gotten everything I can out of this game. But with this game, it's balanced just right that I couldn't put it down until I reached 100%. Look, see, look, here's my tweet. Look, see, that's it, 100%. Proof positive, right there, hard evidence. I did it. Even if there were some challenges that were kind of frustrating, like beating some of the bosses without taking any damage, there's just something about this game where you can't put it down. You gotta see everything that Kirby and the Forgotten Land has to offer, and it has a lot to offer, and by the end of it, you'll be like, damn, that's the best game ever made. Well, obviously, not the best game ever made, but the best Kirby game ever made. The absolute peak of our little puffball's existence. Look at this man. This man will kill for you. And oh my god, I almost ended the review while completely forgetting to talk about mouthful mode. This is pretty good. Upgrading your arsenal, just turn into a traffic cone, turn into a vending machine, turn into a car. Beep, 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 beep. Homicide. Absolutely incredible. So much fun. Look at Lightbulb Kirby. He's not having a great time. Look at Water Kirby. He loves it. It's a new bubbly blah blah. Hopefully they take this formula and they just keep expanding on it over and over again, and each game just gets better and better, because man, this one just plain slaps. Man, I love video games. You can see it in the list. I just love all kinds of video games. You say a video game is good, I'll pick it up. I'll play it, and I'll come to a conclusion about whether or not you're correct. But I love video games so much, man. I look at all these recent video games coming out, and I kind of have this, like, boomer moment, I feel, of like, oh, look at all these games trying to be movies. Why can't games just be games? Why can't they just be simple, bang, bang, shoot? You know, some games just completely fuck the story up, and it's like, I gotta sit for another 20 hours of this? God damn, well at least it looks pretty. You know what would be fun? If there was a game with just this incredible, tightly written story, but it wasn't like trying to be a huge cinematic experience. It was just simple, yet engaging, and thoughtfully written, and funny, and investing, and just an absolute masterpiece without having to completely break the bank on rendering every single follicle of hair on the main character's shoulders. It can't just be the standard third person, over the shoulder, shoot some dudes, tutorialize at you kind of game. You know, it's gotta be something fresh, modern, but also classic. It's gotta be something disco. Disco Elysium is one of those classic ass games where you pick your own dialogue and you make dice rolls to make decisions. Only in this game, it's a little more unique because the narrator is its own character, and so are all of your senses, and so is your necktie. Because you see, you are an alcoholic and you don't remember shit, so you've got to build your character up by putting points into your own senses, and these senses would then start talking to you and encouraging you and giving you ideas of what to do. And sometimes these ideas are really, really bad, and sometimes you have no choice but to go through with them if you end up finding yourself in a position where you have completely and utterly fucked up the conversation for life. There is a lot of writing in Disco Elysium, depending on how you decide to build your character and what choices you make. And all of it is narrated. This was absolutely insane to me. They got this one guy in the booth, and he is just going ham with this voice like chocolate, and he's incredible. And he's reading off like thousands of lines of dialogue. It's like, I hope they paid you a lot, man. I hope you own a boat, because you are doing a damn fine job with this one.
Eyes on the ball, Dinky Winky.
And those thousands of lines of dialogue are great. They're funny and witty and charming and dark and sad and meaningful and basically everything in between. You're stuck in the head of a very, very sad man, or a very, very angry, racist man, or just a bit of a weirdo, a psychopath. Whatever you want to be, Disco lets you build him. Helping out, or in some cases absolutely refusing to help, in your investigation of a dead guy hanging from a tree is a massive cast of characters who, fun fact, Kuno is objectively the best part of the whole game. As you can see from this handy dandy Twitter poll someone did, he is in fact the best NPC in the entire game, and I'm inclined to agree. He's just an absolute runty shit kid that you would probably punt in the head if you saw him in real life, but then you get to talking to him for like 10 minutes and you're like, oh, your life's fucked. But the best character in the game, by far, is Kim Kitsuragi, your eternal partner. No matter how much you fuck up, no matter what stupid shit you say, no matter how badly you mess up the most basic and simple of tasks, he will be there with you all the way to the end, through thick and thin. Even if sometimes he really, really wants to be literally anywhere else but around you. That kind of personality, combined with the wonderful writing and his own little quirks, just makes Kim an absolute standout best boy character of all time, ever. You would have to do the absolute most awful, horrific thing in the world to get him to not like you. Disco Elysium, as a game, is, I wouldn't say small, but I wouldn't say huge either. It's a moderately sized map, but you'll be stuck here for hours and hours just getting engrossed in all the little details of what's going on, all the mystery of the murder, so many weird, unexplainable little things that may or may not lead you somewhere a little supernatural? Maybe. You'll just have to play the game to find out for yourself, but there might be something a little funky going on in this town. Disco Elysium is like an epic novel that you can play. Something that you absolutely could not get out of a big budget studio nowadays. It takes real, normal-ass people to write this, from real experiences that they've really gone through. Genuinely, towards the end of the game, you have a dream, and that dream is one of the hardest things to get through. I was legitimately depressed as shit by the time I got through the whole thing, and there was a part of me that felt, oh yeah, someone on the writing staff has definitely felt this before. Disco Elysium is an absolutely incredible experience. It made me burst into laughter, it made me cry, it made me feel, it got me scared. It's one of the best games of the last decade. It's one of the best novels I've ever read, and I would heartily recommend that the second you see this game, you pick it up on PC, on console, whatever. Just absolutely insanely good. I can't believe how good this game is. There's just one small problem. You see, earlier this year, it was revealed that the writers of this game, the figureheads of the company, basically the auteurs behind this experience, were ousted by the big money men, the investors. They were thrown out of their own company, and that just kind of left me with a sour taste. It makes recommending the game hard, because it is an absolute masterpiece of a game. But by spending money on it, are you not supporting the people who hurt the people who made the game? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what to do here. Like, yes, it is one of the best games ever made, but with circumstances like that, it's like, can I really encourage you to buy it? Now, obviously, I can't promote piracy on YouTube. That's like a big no-go. I can't, I can't tell you to follow any particular links. I can't link you any pirate sites, obviously, because YouTube would catch that and they'd take it down. I certainly can't direct you anywhere that might contain a way for you to get this game for free. In any way, that would be bad. It would be bad if I told you how to get this game for free so that you could experience this wonderful experience without directly supporting money-grubbing, awful people. It would be very bad if I were to, in some way, do that. If I were to take money from these big dudes who just ousted these people from their jobs and currently attempting to probably ruin their world with some slapdash sequel that has nowhere near the same job. That would be terrible if I were to do that at all. If I did that, I'd probably get in trouble. I might get flagged. I'm not entirely sure if, say, hypothetically, I just put an image up on screen, or I just had some words on the screen and I told you to do that, or, but I wouldn't do that, obviously. That would be bad if I did that. I'm not really sure what to do. Yeah. Real shame I can't do that at all. Most important thing to take away from this is that Disco Elysium, my favourite game I played last year, one of my favourite games of all time. Awesome job. Great work, guys. Hope you beat that lawsuit. Hope you get back in there. You're really, really good at this. Also, translate that book. I want to read it. Anytime, please. That would be incredible. Ha-hooey! Hey guys, you made it to the end of the video. Was this one shorter than last year's? Was it somehow longer? I feel like it was shorter. I had a lot less games to cover, and I feel like I did a pretty good job of going through most of them and then saving the really talky parts towards the end. We'll see how it comes out in the edit. I haven't even edited the footage together. I'm just slapping my audio in. How are you guys doing? Was your year good? What games did you play last year? You probably played Elden Ring. I didn't play Elden Ring. I should probably get a PS5. This might be the year I get a PS5, unless they delay Alan Wake 2, because that's what I'm really been waiting for before I get a PS5. But yeah, a lot of games last year that you would expect on most people's lists that weren't on this year's list. God of War, Elden Ring, all that other good stuff. But yeah, it's my own taste. It's my own personal taste. I'm definitely looking forward to next year's video, because while I've been recording this, I've been playing Metro Training 33, and oh boy, do I have a lot to say about that game, but that's going to have to wait until next year's video, so look forward to that, and I hope you have a good year. I'm not sure when this video is coming out. I'm hoping to get it out before the end of January, but we got a lot of big stuff coming up this year. We got the Danganronpa 0 audio book. I'm working on a video for Boros, a sort of rewind of all his previous stuff from last year. It may or may not be done by the time I get this video finished. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I got quite a fair amount planned for this year in my life and on the channel. So look forward to all of that. And let me know what you think of this video down in the comments below. And see you later. Bye-bye.